Hey guys, Gabriel from Serial Killers. We're at the Vienna Comic Con with Andrew Scott, mostly known from Sherlock and James Bond. So let's start with that. I think your biggest role was in SC in James Bond, or was it?
It's maybe. It was certainly a role. Yeah.
How was that compared to like your theater experience and your TV show experience, like the transition from that to that?
Yeah, well, I think that's why I would say it's not my biggest role, because in the theatre last year I played Hamlet, which has got 1,500 lines. It's 4 hours long. That's the biggest role I've played, because I'm still getting over it. I'm still feeling the pain of playing that part. But yeah, no, I think acting is kind of just acting. You know, you've got to commit to both the film and the theatre. It's something I've always done. When I was a kid, my first ever job was in a movie, an Irish film, when I was 17, and I went into the theatre when I was 19. So I've always, every year, I've always done one play alongside filming. So I'm kind of well used to it now, going between the two.
Okay. So how was it like being on the big screen? Like I know that you got a lot of experience in the theater, but like I mentioned, the transition from theater acting to like big screen movie blockbuster acting. Is there some difference between the behind the scenes, like working with the cast and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, as I say, I've always done movies, so that was a long time ago that I would have transitioned from theatre. But doing big blockbuster films, I suppose I'm relatively new to. It's sometimes, I think it's a slower process, because there's more money, and it takes a long time to light these huge, expansive sets, and that can be a good thing, to have all those resources available to you. But also, it's not necessarily a good thing for your imagination, which is what you need when you're an actor. You know, to do a two-page scene that spreads over 2 weeks is difficult, because you have to hold your original imagination in your head. And sometimes on a lower budget film you can do it quicker, and it's all done and it comes out, and there's an energy that comes with that. So that's what I'd say the big difference is.
So your was always like maybe I would say William based or psychotic, something like that. Is this something that you kind of want to play, or is it like the casting went like in this direction, like a villain or something? Or
yeah, well, I suppose the most commercial shows, films that I've done have been James Bond and Sherlock, and both those films I played a villain. So I can understand why that's what it might look like. But no, I feel very lucky. I get to do a lot of different types of characters, maybe not as well known as those ones, and I think it's important. Well, it's important for me to keep that alive. So this year I've really focused on playing much more light characters, and a bit more comedy, and so that's been fun.
So could you give us some behind the scenes impressions of the theater work you did? Like how was that what was your impression like working behind working on a set, like a big theater production, stuff like that?
Well, it's really difficult. It's hard work. It's exhilarating, but for Hamlet, for example, last year we do 8 shows a week, and that was a 4-hour show. And you do it twice on a Wednesday, and you do it twice on a Saturday. So you do 8 hours of Shakespearean language, and you're talking about grief, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. And we did it 150 times. And but it was an incredible challenge. They say playing that part kind of alters you in some way, because of the sheer stamina you have to have by doing it over and over. And I can kind of understand that a little bit. But it's brilliant, the theatre, because you're the chief storyteller. You're saying it directly to the audience. You get direct feedback. If they're bored, you know. If they're listening, you know.
Yeah.
If they're upset, you know. If they're laughing, you know. It's immediate, and that's very, very thrilling, because it's you feel incredibly alive. But it does take a lot out of you. But it's something that I feel very passionate about, and something that I'll never give up. So it's nice to be able to do the two, and I feel lucky that I'm able to do that at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm kind of gonna. I would like to get into the whole scene. Like, you did James Bond, Sherlock. It's mostly settled in like British scenes. Would it be an option for you to go like in American production, like let's say a Marvel movie or something, like a big production, like Avengers or something, or is this?
Yeah, I mean, potentially, yeah. Marvel is the biggest. They're the biggest movies in the world, and I think they're cool movies. It would totally depend on the character, but I don't necessarily think that's. It isn't just an ambition of mine just to be in a Marvel movie, just to be in a Marvel movie. I think I've got a sort of independent spirit, I suppose, in the sense that I love independent films as well. I've done a lot of work this year in American television, none of which I'm afraid I can speak of just yet. Okay. But I've spent a lot of this year doing that, and America is somewhere that I'm interested in. There's lots of amazing work being made over there, and so never say never. I like to do whatever I haven't done just previously. So having done very serious theatre work for a year, I've done a lot of comedy stuff, and I've travelled a wee bit this year. So yeah, it's just to keep it all balanced.
Could we stay on the topic, like with future projects of you?
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of them, or can you give us a hint on which direction?
Yeah. Well, I've done some American television. I've done a brilliant television program that already exists. That's an American show, and then I've just done this program called Fleabag, which is a comedy. Brilliant comedy, the second series of that, which is written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So that was great to do a bit of comedy. And then I've got another American project, which I'm also not allowed to speak about. So sorry.
Maybe as final question on the topic theatre. Is there a favorite play of yourself, or is there a favorite scene you would like to know that people that you really enjoyed personally, like your passion project? There
aren't really. I've got sort of quite diverse tastes, I think, in theatre. I am a big Shakespeare fan. I feel quite passionate that isn't boring, presented in a really boring way, as it often is. I think there's a way of doing. I think he's a brilliant writer. I think he knows about human psychology more than any other writer really in history, and I think he's still relevant to today's society if you can just plug into how you might present Shakespeare in the 21st century. For example, Hamlet is about a young man with mental health issues, and I think we're at a very embryonic stage about understanding what our mental health is, and the stigma attached to that, and how young men feel, and all that kind of stuff. So I think Hamlet is brilliant. I think it's a staggering work of genius. And when we did it, it was extraordinary to see when kids, 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, went to see it and actually were engaged with it. Ours was set now, and it was contemporary music, and we tried to speak it as conversationally as possible. That they were really, really gripped by it, and that was exciting. I'd like to do more of that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No problem.